Yeah. So this is Bashar. This is my brother, and I'm Nazar, and we host a podcast called Vaguely Familiar. So thank you for being on.
I got you guys. I'm happy to be here. Honestly, I'm really excited.
You are now officially a vaguely familiar guest. That's what we call it. The guests that come on our
Yeah.
podcast.
Really, a vaguely familiar guest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I just thought about it real quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually really fun.
So the way we got introduced to your work was how most people got introduced to your work, which was through TikTok, and it was just like a lot of so a lot of our friends started sending us these poems that you would recite
Yeah,
that were your poems, and you had a little prompt in the beginning which would be like, send this to a friend, send this to the person you love,
yeah.
send this to whoever, right? And that's how it started to like pick up traction. And I think from a marketing student perspective, that is such a good tool to like
Uh,
have. How did you come about that? And then we'll get into your origin story as well, because we love a good origin story here. But just that through line was so good. How did you do that?
so honestly, I think I was teaching in like 2020 before COVID hit, right?
Yeah.
And my book released when I was teaching, and then everything went online and TikTok blew up, right? That's how it kind of went. But before that, I was kind of using TikTok like as a jokes, right? Like my friends were singing Desi Bollywood songs, I'd record them singing it, like just stuff like that, right? But I follow a lot of writers on Instagram in general, right? I'm really about supporting, indie authors or even smaller authors, because, it's kind of hard out there. You would know, right? It's hard to make a buck, right?
Yeah,
With
for sure.
publishing these days, unless you're a big name or have big money behind you. Uh, so I got on TikTok and I was just like, you know what? I need to find a way where I can leverage this, right? I'm running ads on my books. I'm spending north of like $1,000 a month on advertising,
Yeah.
right? That's
Is
bringing
this
in
social
maybe,
media advertising?
this is AMS, Amazon Marketing Services.
Oh wow,
So I
yeah.
know, yeah, I know like everyone doesn't like Amazon, and I'm not a huge fan of Amazon either, but you do what you have to do, right? So yeah, so I was spending up north 500 to $1,000 a month on that. And I was kind of thinking of ways to minimize that, that spending. So I was on TikTok once and I started following people like authors that I'm cool with, friends with, and they would do it, right? And I was like, how can I make it? They would do other stuff like, they would just post up their work or, read this if you want to sign or some different wording. And I'm like, this is a good idea. Um, and before I even started it, I did message them and talk to them about it. Be like, hey, is it cool if I do this? I know I don't want to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
go in your territory zones. Weirdly enough, like social media writers these days are very pretentious and kind of territorial about what they
You're
do.
telling me.
I've had really bad experiences. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
like people have come at me for when I used to post from like 2015 to 2018. I used to post typewriter poems, right?
Yeah.
And
That
I
was the
love
thing.
doing that. That was a thing, and I love doing it. And so many people would message me, be like, "Yo, why are you stealing my work, bro? Like, what's going on
Really?
with you?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it was, and that would make me kind of. I'd be like, why do I even do this, right? Why do I want to even? Because then these people would be like in cahoots with like the bigger pages that
Yeah.
would kind of are like the tool to get you more known to like the writing world,
Yeah, they would reshare
right?
the posts, right? That's how they would
Yes,
blow up.
like certain, I'm not going to name them because I'm trying
Yeah.
to stay out of beef these days. I'm too old for it. But like these pages are they're very integral to like a smaller writer to get you more known. So I
Yes.
did message these writers beforehand, like, hey, is it cool if I also do this, right? I don't want to, I respect your work, which is why I want to do it. I'm not going to completely copy you guys, and be like, yo, do it. And that's what I like about this kind of new generation of writers that are my age, a little bit younger, where they're all like, no, we want the best for you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
for
we
sure.
want you to do it too. And, it's been a year and a half since I've been doing it, and I'm a little tired of the content. I'm not going to lie. I kind of want to switch up my content, but,
Yeah, I
if
saw
it,
you. I saw you make the effort. You posted a few TikToks that were like not the regular poems. Like you went
yeah,
on live the other day as well. Like I see you trying to branch out, and I respect that as well.
I'm trying because I am so bored of it. Like, I'm so bored of doing the same thing, but it's the fact that people like it. Um, people like it. I'm trying to branch out, like you just mentioned. I feel like it'd be beneficial for me if I did that too, because it's doing the same thing over and over again. It's just so exhausting. I would say.
So you first started posting these videos during the pandemic when it started. That's how it blew up.
I would say it was close to September 16th, 2020.
Okay.
I think that was the date. Yeah, because I remember that was the first video I posted up and it went viral too. The first one I tried. Right.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? Like, let's do this, right?
So when you posted that, did you see immediate results on your AMS?
I was gonna ask.
Immediate. Like
Really?
it was like, so for example, how AMS works, it was like, okay, I set a budget for the day, $5 for the day, and that would correlate to like 5,000 impressions, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 sales. As long my ideology is I'm not a big writer, right? As long as I break even or even lose $1 or $2, I don't mind, right?
Yeah.
As long as people are
Same.
getting their hands on my book, as long as there's that opportunity to kind of blow up, right? I don't care. It became like I was spending $5 to $10 a day. It would be like 20 sales, right? It would essentially, I wouldn't even need to run it anymore. I turned it off for a couple months because I'm like, I don't even need to do this anymore because it's all organic, right?
Yeah.
I'm not spending a dime. I'm taking 2 minutes out of my day to make a video, right? And it has an opportunity to do well. And if it does well, that means I'm getting anywhere from 300 to 2,000 sales in a day.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, that's kind of a good return on investment, I guess. Right. I don't know.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why not?
100%, man. Like that's
why not?
That's what I was talking to you about before we started recording was I went to Karachi this time because my second poetry collection also came out, and I was there to promote it, and I was on like this mini book tour, podcasts, book launches, soft launches, whatever.
That must have been exciting.
It was amazing, man. It was so scary. Like when you first announced that the book launch was happening and that it was ticketed and that people were supposed to pay money to see me, I was having
Major imposter syndrome.
major imposter syndrome.
Oh my
man.
God. I can only imagine. It's so scary.
Because it's a double-edged knife, right? So it's like either nobody's gonna come and that's gonna suck, or there's actually people there that are there to see you, and that's like this anxious.
Surreal.
It made me
It's surreal. Yeah.
but it made me
So
super anxious for some reason.
How many people did show up though, if you don't mind me asking?
So we were supposed to do, the room was locked at 50 people, but it overbooked and we had like 55 to 60 people show up. That was
you overbooked. You sold out.
Exactly. And it was also because of COVID. Otherwise, a lot of other people would have shown up too. So like it made sense. And promoters were good. I was happy with the numbers that came up because I was like, I didn't want too many people to show up because then I'd get really overwhelmed. But what I was gonna say about that was the downside of that is that because my audience is primarily in the subcontinent, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, they don't have Amazon there, bro.
They don't.
And my book is published through KDP, right? Like yours is.
Yeah.
And then like I don't see those sales coming.
That was also like my objection of you promoting your book in Pakistan. I was like, you're promoting your book to an audience that cannot physically buy your book.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's like you said, a double-edged knife sword, right? About the whole thing.
Yeah. So the thing that that struck me about your poetry was that it was so accessible and that it was reaching a wider audience here in North America. So let's say if your TikTok was your TikTok blowing up was a direct result to your sales going up, they stayed up, man. People were enjoying your content. I bought Euphoria after I saw your TikTok blow up, and I was like, this is good stuff. I made him read it too, and he's not into poetry at all.
Some of that stuff was I've taken screenshots and I've saved them. I've sent it to people. And I'm not that big of a fan of poetry, even though my brother is a poet, but I really liked your stuff. It was...
Nah, I genuinely appreciate that. No, Euphoria is definitely, I would say, my least liked book.
Really?
Out of all of them. I genuinely love Euphoria, right? I do, but everyone doesn't everyone doesn't like it, but not many people like it, right? Because it was my first book, right? I made it when I was like 21, right? And I was like, I just need to get a book out. I need to get a book out. Because I was student teaching that semester and I was like very stressed out.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't have time to write anymore.
Sorry to cut you off, but I want to talk about
you're good.
the origin story of Farhan Yousaf. How did it become that you were a 21-year-old teacher teaching high school, right?
Yeah.
How did you fall into writing? How did you decide to publish? All of that. Give it to me. Give it to me straight.
Spill the beans.
Oh man. So, I specifically don't know how I started writing. All I remember is my sister is also a published writer, right? My older sister, she published her first novel when she was in 8th grade, right?
Wow.
I am 2 years younger than her, so I was in 6th grade then. But the downside of, which is I'm a big advocate of like, don't sign with publishers that make you pay, right?
100%.
I don't know if you've seen that. I am strictly against it because my sister did that, right? She signed with a publisher. I'm not going to air them, but, that made her pay initially, right? My dad fronted it because she was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
Right. But it just went nowhere because if you have to pay for publishers, it's like, it's a scam.
Yeah, totally.
So I generally did see her like so kind of upset about that, but I was like, you know what, we move, right? So when I got into high school, I was like, you know what, I could start writing, right? Or I just started writing down some feelings, right? I genuinely like, I've heard through everyone, my friends and even my wife, that I am the more sensitive type. So I was writing, right? I was journaling. I was writing poems down. I was like, you know what? I'm not bad at this, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, in 10th grade. And then I joined the poetry club my senior year of high school. And I specifically remember, like, I went only once to this poetry club, right? And they're like, I was the only guy, right? And they're like, okay, it's a Halloween poem, rhyme something with pumpkin. And I'm like, I'm never coming back, right? Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm bad at rhyming. I'm thinking of like, nothing rhymes with pumpkin.
Yeah.
I still can't think of anything that rhymes with pumpkin. So it's just like, it just never really worked out. And I never really cared about English, right? You can probably relate. You probably spoke Urdu growing up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know any English until I was in kindergarten, right?
Yeah.
So I was in ESL classes practically my whole life, practically until
same.
4th and 5th.
Same.
Right? It's the weirdest thing. Until 4th to 5th grade, I was in ESL classes. I didn't know how to say my R's properly. I still don't say them properly sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when I go to a gas station sometimes and I'm like, yo, fill up regular. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, my fault. Like, I don't know why I just said that. Right? So I was in ESL till 4th grade. And even after that, I had so many fallings out with grammar because I just was never good. I was good at history, which is what I was teacher for, right?
Yeah.
But then I got to college, and my first semester, I played that immigrant card so hard, where I was failing my English, my intro to like English in my first semester of college so badly. And the last paper was like, write 3 essays. Right? 3 essays and put them in a portfolio, make it look nice, give it in, right? I gave it in one-on-one meeting. He was like, so when did you come to this country? And I'm like, well, I was born here, but I didn't know any English. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was just my grammar was so bad. They're like, you know what? Just because your dad's an immigrant or your mom's an immigrant, I'm not going to fail you. I'll give you a C. Yeah. And I'm like, that's all I need. Yeah. But I started getting a lot more serious. Sorry, my wife says I branch things out a little bit too much.
No, it's okay. We'll bring you back. We'll bring you back.
All right, sweet. Thank you. It all got serious for me in my spring semester in 2015, where I was in a professor's class. He was a poet from Colombia, right? Pretty good. He had a weird name, but we were analyzing poems, right? And I was analyzing Sylvia Plath, Sylvia Plath. I love Sylvia Plath. She's my girl, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I genuinely loved the way that she would kind of write, her life into these words, right? The thing that stuck out to me the most was like, she had so much trauma and difficulties in her life, right? Her dad dying, her suicide attempts, all these things. And she would write about it. And as a casual reader, like if you didn't care, you wouldn't get it. Right. But I went home after I read it. I'm like, no, I need to know more about this woman. Right.
Yeah.
I need to know more about her. because I don't know, like, why is she writing about being in a hole? Why is she writing about her dad's a Nazi? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Right. I read about like what happened, right? Like, he's like, you need to know more about her life to actually genuinely get what she's talking about. Totally. And that's what I found beautiful, right? That's what I found so unique and so stunning about her writing, that I'm like, you need to know about her on a personable level almost to kind of understand what she's speaking about. And I think from then on, I'm like, I want to fix myself. I want to fix my commas, my grammars, my M dashes. I want to get everything in order, right? And I want to, like, oh my God, I'm not a teacher's person. I hate speaking up in class. I get really bad anxiety over that. But during that whole poetry lesson, I was like, I know why she wrote it. Because her dad died when she was younger, right? That's why she compares him to a Nazi, right? And he's like, what? And I'm like, no, that's not right.
You're almost like ahead of the curve with that, like, because you did your pre-homework.
Yeah, it was very, like, I have never shown interest in anything, right? That's one thing about me. I've always been kind of going with the flow with things. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just do it, right? I don't care. But when it came to poetry, I became so enamored with it. I was in love with it. And I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know the lives of these poets and why they wrote, right? I wanted to know about it. And that kind of got me snowballing into, I'm going to write on WordPress, right? Yeah. And I started writing on WordPress, right? And that doesn't get you any love whatsoever. But I started writing on it, right?
What did you find? Sorry to cut you off. What did you find when you were looking into these poets' lives? Like, what was a common denominator that you can kind of point out? Because when I look back at some of the Urdu great poets that my dad is a big fan of, one thing that I can see in common is that they've been through a lot of sadness, trauma, heartbreak, heartache.
Yeah.
Was that similar to the poets that you discovered?
So much. Ernest Hemingway, traumatized. And also the CIA was spying on him his whole life, right? Or whatever, right? Survived 4 plane crashes, right? That's intense. Was it 4? Or was it 3 or 4? Something like that. One after the
soldier
other.
at Cuba, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And not even just Yeah, exactly. He did, because he thought the CIA was spying on him.
Yeah.
And they were, right? Sylvia Plath, absurdly, like, she was so just traumatized. So, like, I have no words to explain the sadness that she felt, but you can read it in her work almost. You can almost feel it.
Bukowski was so...
Bukowski. Yeah. Bukowski's a special one. I don't know. I'm not in love with his work. I respect his work. I'm not in love with it. But
I'm going through a huge Bukowski phase right now, man. Like, I read Post Office and it changed me. Yeah. I read it in like one sitting and I was like, what is this?
I do like Bukowski because he shows like the regular, like, American. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna drink whiskey. I'm gonna go chat with girls. I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, wow. And he's seen as such a negative light in these days. Yeah. Because he's like, oh, he's like about the male, he's like the male people, and like, and also like the people who like him are also not great people. Yeah. I can understand why people dislike him, but I do respect his work. I do. I need to read more about him.
The Bukowski thing, the hate that he's getting is that he's so unashamedly him. He's like, this is me, right? I hate myself.
He's flawed.
And I'm going to talk about it, right?
Yeah, he's flawed, and he will write his stuff. And it's honestly, that kind of made me realize, like, reading these poets, right? And I had this kind of thought the other day when I was speaking, right? I follow a lot of Instagram pages with poetry and whatnot. Yeah. And they post up like legendary authors like Lucille Clifton and Rumi Muhammad Darwish, right? They post up these legendary authors, and I'm like, wow, like, these poems are so small, right? They're like Insta poems or something, right? It's very casual, very easy. But the difference is, I mean, I'm probably going off track a little bit, but the difference is Insta poets get a lot more hate these days than regular grades no matter if they're writing the same thing, the different thing. I don't know, but we can talk about something else. Let's go back to the origin story. I'm keeping track of myself. Don't worry. I'm trying to.
I love it.
I'm trying to, but so I started diving to, like, I don't know, Kaveh Akbar. Have you heard of him?
Not him. No.
I love Kaveh Akbar because that's when, when you're in college, I don't know if you guys can relate. But religiously, spiritually, you get a little confused.
Yeah.
Right? You start questioning things, especially when you get older, right? You start questioning things, existential, nihilistic, different things like that. And Kaveh Akbar kind of got my itch for that because he's an Iranian poet, teaches at Purdue. And his stuff weaves a lot about spirituality and Islam. I don't know what the hell he's talking about half the time, right?
Yeah.
But the one where I do know where he's talking about, I'm like, I like this stuff, right? I like how he brings in, the origin of Islam sometimes.
Yeah.
Or how he kind of repeats his phrases over and over again. And that's what, second person, I fell in love with Kaveh Akbar, and I'll always love his writing no matter if it gets worse or better.
Yeah.
You say you're in love with Bukowski right now. I'm in love with Ocean Vuong right now.
Okay, I've not heard of him either.
Oh my God, absolutely. I have never read writing that beautiful in my life. In my life. I read it and I'm like,
what would you recommend for me to like dip my toe in?
Well, it's his first poetry book, Night Sky with Exit Wounds, by Grand Canyon Press. That was really good. But he came out with a novel, right? Called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I'm looking at it on my bookshelf.
Yeah.
And my wife bought it for me when we went to Cambridge for like our honeymoon after we got married. And I actually finished it last month because I was just dragging my toes with reading books. I don't know. I'm just really bad at reading. And I was like, man, this guy, I've never been jealous of anyone. I hate feeling jealous, but I am so jealous.
Yeah.
I am so jealous of the way this person writes. I am envious. If I want to write like one person, it's gonna be like Ocean. Because his just, it's like, have you read Haruki Murakami?
Yeah, I'm reading, I literally just started Kafka on the Shore yesterday.
Love Kafka. I love it, right? I love all his writings. I read Norwegian Wood, loved it. It almost reminds me of his type of writing, but in poetry, right?
So here's the thing that you might not like. Norwegian Wood,
hot take coming in.
I did not like Norwegian Wood at all. It's in my
Did not finish pile. I can see that. Norwegian Wood, I feel like all Murakami's books, I have a love for him.
Yeah.
But I feel like Murakami's especially these days with the rise of like TikTok and younger generation reading now, right? Young generation's reading now and they read Murakami and people are like, why is he portraying women that way?
Yeah.
Or why is he portraying... And I have my issues with Murakami too. I don't like how every story is literally the same thing, but like rewritten, right?
So the problem I had with Norwegian Wood, and I was going to do a YouTube video about this after I finished Kafka, because when I told my friends who loved Murakami that I did not like Norwegian Wood and I couldn't finish it and it was going nowhere and it felt aimless to me and it felt like nothing was happening, and not that I'm plot heavy, but even the characters I didn't really like. They seemed very like unlikable to me, and there came a point where I was like, what's happening? It's so sexually charged. All right.
Very.
And this kid is annoying me, and these girls are annoying me. Like, I don't know what.
So much. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. So I left it 2/3 in, about 60% on my Kindle, and I was like, I can't go back to it. But one of my friends who's a big Murakami head, she was like, give Kafka on the Shore a try. If you don't like that one, then we get it.
Kafka. I like Kafka a lot. I don't know what the hell he's talking about half the time, but I love Kafka. I love the surrealism, the dreamlike. When I'm reading it, I feel like I'm levitating. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't do drugs, but damn,
I totally get it.
It was so good. Like I was just reading it, and I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about, but I like it. It's just the weirdest thing.
So when you started reading up on these poets and these writers and you found a connection with them, how far long after that did you write your first poem? That made first poem that made a difference, because you write poems before that, and then there's that one poem that you're like, I think I'm a poet now. Because I had that same thing when I wrote my first poem in about 2016, 17, and I was like, I think this is good. This isn't mediocre. This is kind of good. Yeah. What was that like?
I don't know if I ever had that feeling. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've had. You can probably relate with imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah,
right.
Massive.
Growing up. My dad would always tell me. He would be like, never think you're good at anything, right? Always think you have more to work on.
Yeah.
Right? Never go into a job and when someone's teaching you, never say, I know, right? Yeah. Or stuff like that, right? That was the type of mindset he was, right? So I'm not trauma dumping, I promise.
No.
But it was never, I was essentially never gonna be good enough and I always had to work hard to be better.
Okay.
Right? And that's something I'm trying to work through myself these days.
I can see the good side of that and the bad side of that.
It is it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. I was talking about this on my live the other day too, where I was like, I don't like poets who think they're the best.
Yeah.
Right? Poets who think like, I'm the best of the best, but they have nothing to show for it. I'm like, no, you're not the best, but work towards it. Right?
Yeah, totally.
That's the best thing. So my goal when I started writing in 2015, I was like, I want to build an audience, right? I want to build an audience. I want to get better as I write. I want to write like these greats. I don't think I'll ever be that great. But if I am, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if I'll get there, but I want to enjoy the process, right? I don't know if there was a poem that made me feel like I was a poet. I would just kind of go with the flow and just write. But I'm not going to lie. When quarantine and everything started, and I started like kind of working on my third book, Prayers of My Youth. And I genuinely love every single poem I wrote in there, right? I have never, like, with Sincerely, I have my issues, right? That book was not for me, right? With Euphoria, I have my issues, whatever. Serenity, I have my issues.
Really?
Right?
It's not even out yet.
I know, it's not. People are actually getting their hands on it. I didn't know that.
Yeah?
Like,
I'm still on pre-order, bro. I haven't gotten mine yet.
Someone literally just tagged me in a story and they're like, just got my hands on it. I messaged her. I'm like, how did you, I don't know you. Like, how did you get your hands on it?
No, I know that you sent like
yeah.
some PR packages to some people and they're getting it.
Yeah.
But then the people who pre-ordered it, they're getting it too now? Because I haven't gotten mine.
Some people, and I don't know how they're getting it. People got their copies before I did. I was like when people, do you know how much of a shock it was when people started posting up their packages? And I'm like, wait, what? You got your books before me? What do you mean? I don't even have my book yet, right? Yeah. And then I got the next morning because like, we're going to overnight to you because this doesn't look too good because people have it before you. And I'm like, I guess.
So how did the writing for Euphoria start then? Sorry, I'm trying to bring you back.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Trust me. I appreciate you for doing that. So Euphoria, so I used to work in a store, right? So I would mainly go to college. You know, you went to college, you know how it is. So when I was at work, I was working a lot that semester or those years. I would print out receipts, right? I would press a lever, receipt would come out, I would rip it out and I would write poems on there in my downtime. Right when I was at the register, right? I still have a lot in my closet.
I was gonna ask if you had some of them saved.
I do have a couple saved. I don't like looking back on it because I'm like, that was a repressed memory I just kind of took out right now. I'm like, yeah, I did that. So I haven't looked at them yet because I stuffed them in a camera bag and I threw it away. And when I actually moved in June from my mom's house, I saw the camera bag and I'm like, I'm going to take this with me. I'm going to take this with me. Yeah. For what? I don't know. It's still sitting in there. I haven't touched it since I moved, but who knows? Maybe I'll go back to it and be like, I can do something with this. But I used to do that, right? I used to just take it out, write something, quotes, whatever, write a poem, an idea. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home, typewrite it out, post it up, right? Done. So I specifically remember a day, I think, when me and my wife were engaged during this time, or botbuckied, right? We would, I was like, I want to really publish a book, right? Because I'm starting to student teaching. I need to do this. I just need to do this, right? That's it. We went to a coffee shop together. If you're ever in New Jersey, let me know. I'll give you the best coffee shops. I promise.
Bro, I'm gonna have you take me when I go to New York.
I know. I'll pay for you. Don't worry. I'll pay for you. I got you. It's on me. And you too, Bashaar. I got you.
Thank you.
So we went to this coffee shop and I specifically remember, I think I still have this picture where we laid out all the receipts onto the counter, onto the table. And I was just writing down the poems I'm going to put in, right? Yeah. That's all I was doing. And she was looking through, she's like, oh, this one sucks. This one's good. This one's bad. Work on this one, edit this one. Maybe this, and she rewrote her own stuff on it. Like, okay, this can be better this way. And I'm like, okay, good. Amazing. Phenomenal. And then I compiled it. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but when I do something, right? When I take a picture, a good picture, when I get my film back from like the lab, people's like, just wait until you have the right time to post it. I'm like, no, I'm going to post this now. I want to do this right now.
I did that.
Right? As soon as I finish Euphoria, I'm like, I'm doing this right now.
Yeah.
This instant. I'm publishing. I'm hitting that publish button. I'm going to do this. And my wife's like, don't. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. This is my thing.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have done it. But
you should have like marketed
right?
it a little bit, you know?
I should have. And I did hype it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think then I had like 5,000 followers. 3 years I was doing it, posting every single day. And I wasn't big. Yeah. I was still trying to fight for a name, I guess. And I didn't care that much. It was still frustrating though. So you haven't been reading me that long, but like people who have been like reading my stuff for a long time have numerous copies of my first book. Numerous.
Yeah.
Because let me show you real quick because I have some right here.
I can relate to that too.
Yeah. So these, right?
Yeah.
There's 2 covers before this one.
Wow.
Right. I published it and I have that in my bedroom, but I published that one, right? A white cover, not ugly cover, but we made do with what we had. Yeah. It didn't do too well. No illustrations. Then I got an agent, right? Cause he saw potential. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this. He said, change the black cause black sells better. And I'm gonna tell you that right now. Always do black covers or darker covers cause they catch the eye better.
Okay.
There's like a psychology behind it. I don't know. That's why all my covers are all darker now. He's like, I'm gonna change it for you. Don't worry. Made it black, redid it. Sales got better. And then it was, I actually started taking off because of my second book.
Yeah.
Mainly. That was my, I guess, the reason why I started doing well. Cause my Sincerely was self-published for a bit.
So did the agent get you a publishing deal or were you still going through KDP?
So the agent kind of does, but he was waiting on more. He only had one other poet on his line then because he was still a young agent. And she's a very big name too. I don't know if I'm allowed to name drop or whatever, but
it's a Rupi Kaur. It's Rupi Kaur, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not. I think she's unagented. She doesn't have an agent.
Still.
I think she just got one
because she's like from what I heard, she's writing a novel now, is she not? Yeah.
No, listen. You can hate on Rupi Kaur all you want. I have my stripes,
and I will. I will hate on Rupi Kaur.
Listen, I'm not putting it past you, right? People hate on me. People will hate on you, right? But I have to respect her. I have to respect Nahara Waheed too, right? I love Nahara Waheed. Her and Rupi Kaur did so much for poetry being such a mainstream.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In this day and age.
I totally agree with
that. And I have to respect them for it, you know? So it's not Rupi Kaur, but it is, you know, Courtney Pepper now?
I do not.
She's Australian and she has like 10 or so poetry books.
Wow.
And they do well. They do really well. Like I was shocked how like well they did. And I was shocked. It was so surreal to me that I'm like, this agent wants me.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's validation. Right? That's validation that you were probably seeking.
It is. So it is. At that time it was. And I'm like, you know what? I did it. I remember I still wrote in my journal entry, like, this is all I want.
Yeah.
Right. I want this to happen. And it did. Right. But, you know, then me and my wife are getting married. So I wrote Sincerely.
Yeah.
Right. And then Sincerely, I don't know if you remember what the first cover looked like. It looked like this.
No, I don't know that.
Right.
I don't know that cover at all.
Yeah. So this is the first edition Sincerely, right? First edition. I had to go through so many obstacles just to get this, right?
Yeah.
And I love this cover so much, right? It was 50 pages, not that long. I wasn't supposed to publish it. I wasn't gonna. I used it to propose to my wife because she wants something cute, you know? And,
I can relate to that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because I wanted to get into I wanted to get into your relationship as well because it's so adorable. Your wife's name is Yousaf, right? And a lot of your poetry is romance based. It's romantic poetry. How much of it is inspired by your own relationship, or heartbreak.
And I was gonna ask, like, what did you initially like when you were working at that store? What were you writing about? Like, did you have some sort of triggering event that was the main source of what you were writing about?
So let me see what I want to get to first. So let's go with Bashaar. I like the question. So you mentioned earlier, writers have kind of a sad life, right? Yeah. So I was going through a little bit of a tough time around 2014, 2015, 2016. My parents were getting divorced. It was hard, especially when you're growing up. Yeah. Especially I'm the only boy in my household. I have 3 sisters.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I know that.
3 sisters. So one of my sisters was married, moving in brand new, especially if your parents are bitter, especially Desi parents will be bitter, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very difficult. So I was genuinely kind of writing about that. I always, the vocabulary I like to use in my poetry, especially, I don't like name dropping, right? I like writing like yous and I's, something what people can kind of relate to themselves, right? And I take that from Rumi. That's what I really like about Rumi and Hafiz, where you don't know, like they say like, Rumi's like all about love, right? He's all about you can talk, like you can read one of his poems and you'd be like, oh, I'm thinking about my girl right now, right? You can think like that, but is he talking about his girl?
No, never.
No,
almost never.
Obviously not. So, almost never. Yeah. I don't know if he even had one, right? Yeah. So that's what I like doing, right? I love that aspect of Rumi, and I was like, you know what? I want people to see if they can relate to this, right? Very vague, so I don't get in trouble, right? Yeah, so I'm not trying to get yelled at by anyone.
I totally get it.
It was very tough. It was a tough time. Still that stuff takes so long to actually get over. I'm still not entirely over it to this day.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot. Like back then, it was hard. Yeah, it was very hard. So that's why I started writing. So I was thinking about me standing up at a register, writing on little receipts about trauma. That's all I was doing. And I would write like 30 in like an 8-hour period.
Yeah.
Right.
When it's flowing, it's flowing, man. Like you're just the conduit at that point.
Then a customer comes and ruins your flow. Like,
how dare they?
Yo, what's up?
How dare they?
What's up with that? What's up with that? I'm not getting paid enough for this. Like, go to someone else. But back to your romance question, people are gonna hate when I say this, but
go for it. We love being cheesy on the podcast, man.
No, not because of that. Like, okay, I love writing love poems, right? They're very nice, but I think people think of me like sitting late at night at my desk, just writing poetry just for her, right? Like that's what they think. No, it's not like that. I write poetry for everything, right? For everyone, right? Most of it, sure, it's about my wife, like the love stuff. But sometimes I think about my friends when I'm writing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking about my wife when I'm writing. You know, it can mix. I think about God. I think about different things. I think about my mom, my sisters, anyone, right? That can kind of, you know, relate to love or passion. So it's that's what I think about. And when people read Sincerely or like my other love poems, like, oh, I want someone to write about me like this. And I'm like, it's not all about her. Like genuinely, I can read it. And I'm like, that wasn't about her.
Yeah, but it's the same thing that Rumi has, right? Where people read Rumi and they're thinking that he's writing about someone romantic, but it's Rumi is like writing about God all the time. It's ishq hakiki, man.
Exactly. And that's what I like about it, right? Yeah. I can write about anything and everything. And you can think I'm writing about anything and everything. If I was thinking everything literally, I would think Rumi has like 100 girlfriends, right? Yeah. Like what, like a poem for a different lady every day. Yeah. I don't know, right? But I'm genuinely writing about stuff. Even when I look back about poems I wrote about my friends or my parents or my sisters or even her, I think about who I genuinely love in that moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think about her. I think about people who have made me happy, stuff like that. And that's what I do like about poetry, because I feel like it's so versatile.
Yeah. You got engaged at a very young age too. You said you were in college when you got baat pakki?
I was senior in college.
Is that scary?
Nick,
how scary is that?
it's with the right person, it's not scary.
Man, I'm telling you,
it's not scary.
Like it
All
gets
right,
scary.
now for the real answer. It's scary as hell,
bro.
It's scary as hell.
It's scary, man. Even if it's the person you love, you're like, it's happening. This person is going to be like, Islamically, this is my responsibility now. I have to take this forward, and I don't know. I wanted this, but now it's here, and I'm like, what the hell is happening?
I'll be honest with you. So I got my nikah done a little bit after my bat baki, right? So I was nikah for a couple years before we got married this past June or whatever. And I'm not gonna lie, nikah, I was excited. Like I had my life in order. I was gonna finish student teaching. I was teaching in Patterson. Like I knew what I was doing with my life, right? I got it. When I was getting married in June, I'm like, oh my God, she's moving in with me. but it's a challenge, but it's a welcomed challenge, I would say.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it too.
It's very hard. It's very hard. I'm gonna tell you some life advice right now. Everything with a grain of salt. Someone told me this. I was so mad because someone told me this after, like a month or two after me and her moved in together, where he was like, you know, when you move in with her for the first time, it's very hard, right? It is very hard because two people from different households coming together, you live different ways. I'm a very bare minimum type of person. For dinner, I would eat ramen noodles, right? Now I have to cook something. Now I have to cook like Tuscan chicken. Like, what's that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So it was a challenge because your different ideologies are kind of in the same household, especially with little quirks that might annoy her or might annoy me. And, you know, after marriage, everyone's telling you like, oh, it's going to be so fun, time of your life, blah, blah, blah. And then you don't have the time of your life. And you're like, oh my God, this isn't fun. Like,
it's hard work.
Like I'm not happy, or I'm not entirely happy right now.
This is when the post-marital depression kicks in.
Exactly. It kicks in a lot earlier than you think. It kicks in like maybe 2 weeks after, maybe not even 2 months. No, all kidding aside. I met someone, one of my mom's cousins. I didn't talk to him until recently, until I moved closer to him. He's fairly young too. Pakistanis are kind of weird like that. They have cousins who are like 4 and like 80. It's the weirdest thing.
I have nieces my age, so I get it.
You see, I didn't know that until like I married my wife, because I just learned her family tree recently. Yeah. Where it's like her first cousin, or the girl that she's like her best friends with, right, is like her cousin's daughter, first cousin's daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Like our kid's gonna be her second cousin?
Yeah. I have a cousin who got married when she was 20, right? And I was like 2 or 3 when she got married, because she's older than me, because she's my oldest puppy's oldest daughter. Okay. And my oldest puppy got married when she was 20. So her kids are like my age. And like we played together. And like when I went to Karachi this time, like the kid was older than me. Well, taller than me. And I was like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah. I think the funniest thing is it's so my dad, same thing in Pakistan, right? My taya, right? He like my dad's like, oh yeah, your cousins, like this buddy, that buddy, like yeah. Like they were like, I was 4 when they were born. I was like, oh, that's weird.
It is.
That's weird.
So you were saying you were given some advice by that person like 2 months after.
Yeah, there we go. I was thinking about getting back to that. 2 months after, he's like, listen, no one tells you this. It's hard. The first 2 months is one of the hardest, or first 3 months, or first year, whatever, one of the hardest times of your life. They're like the times that are going to test your marriage the most.
Yeah.
So here's my advice. Take everything with a grain of salt. That's it.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? I wish you came to my wedding. Like, I wish you were there. You hit no RSVP. I'm mad at you for not coming.
But it's good that you're like young, so you can still, mold. You have that leeway.
Exactly.
Of adapting.
Exactly. I was thinking, I'm like, at least I'm not 30 or 35 getting married, right? Like, no shame in getting married that old. But I'm thinking more of the sense of like, God, if I was doing the same things for 35 years of my life, and I had to all of a sudden drop some things, I would have a mental breakdown. Yeah.
Those habits by then are like set in stone. They're like set.
Yeah, at least at 24, 25 years old, you're like, okay, I can mold. You like Play-Doh, like somewhat hard Play-Doh. You can kind of mold a little bit more.
Yeah.
So nikah is the fun time.
Yeah.
Post, like everything after, like once the walima happens, I'm not saying it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm saying that challenge. Just, it's like I relate it to teaching, right? They say the first 3 years of your teaching career are the worst years of your life.
Yeah.
Right. And I had that where it's so tough. But after you get through with it, guess what? You can just reuse all the stuff you did the last 3 years and do nothing all day. It's an easy job at that point.
Yeah. Same
thing with this. Take everything with a grain of salt. Don't you're going to catch feelings, but don't be too upset. Just know that it's not everything is out of malicious intent.
What do you do? What do you do for conflict resolution?
Definitely we just came up with this rule. We literally, it was she brought it up where she was like, okay, when things get too heated, one of us has to call a timeout, right? Or one of us. And we both go away for a second for 5-10 minutes and just write down something or write down a letter to each other. Cause that's what Sincerely was based off of. Me and my wife would write letters to each other, right? Cause that's what we liked.
Yeah.
So write letters to each other. So about why you're upset or what are you thinking and how we can fix this. Right. And it genuinely takes two people to resolve an argument. Yeah. If I'm trying to resolve stuff and you're not, it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Cause then it's just, someone's going to get more annoyed.
Yeah.
Or someone's going to get instigated. So
that's such a difficult rule to follow though. Once you're in the midst of it, you're you want to go at it. They're time out.
Yeah.
You're I got to go right now.
It's happened. It's happened. I think we've enforced it twice or 3 times, but we've also enacted that rule 3 months ago. So I'll take it. I'll take everyone.
We will come back to you on how that went.
No, it's gone good so far. That's thing. I'm enjoying marriage life. Alhamdulillah, I'm not having no complaints, but just, yeah, I'm a catastrophizer. That's, if you guys want to know anything about me, I catastrophize things. So if me and my wife are in a fight, I'm catastrophizing that whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's very tough to kind of break that mindset of catastrophizing. And
this is wonderful because you and I are the same age, 96 babies, right? And we're always kind of in the same profession. Different levels, obviously, right?
We are.
And the thing is, I was listening to your life story, and I felt like it was my life story. I started writing when I was 20, 21. I published my first book when I was 23, and it was just same thing. It came from trauma. Mine was more romantically inclined trauma, and then I just wrote about it, and people liked it, and it did a thing in the world. And then the second one is also it's not about trauma. Now, the second one, when my second book was coming out, people were like, when is the sequel to this coming out? I was like, I don't know. I don't have anything to write about. What do you do when you have nothing to write about? I don't want to make stuff up, right?
Yeah.
It was only after I fell in love and I had someone to write about, and then I had a muse where I could be like, oh, now I know. I completely opened a different chapter of my life, different chapter of my writing. And it was more fresh. It was easier. What would you say about that?
Exciting,
yes.
Yeah. Right, currently I'm trying to write a novel, right? I
want to get to that as well.
But
so you can touch upon that if you want.
Yes. Yeah. So while doing that, I'm researching a lot, right? I have all these dumb books at my desk.
Stephen King's On Writing?
On Writing.
Oh,
right? I'm trying to take this seriously.
That book, Stephen King's On Writing, is one of the best books about
I'm reading that book. I'm not even a writer.
It's so... I love it. I specifically love when he's on cocaine and he wrote Cujo. Love that part.
My favorite part of that book is when he describes the first time he got a call from his agent when he sold Carrie. Have you gone to that part yet?
Yeah.
Where he just...
I'm on 160.
Where he just slides down the wall. His wife's not there. He's freaking out. He got a $500,000 check. He doesn't know what to do. So he goes out and buys a vacuum cleaner.
He's a family man.
Love it.
What can you do?
Love it.
My favorite thing was when he threw Carrie out because he thought it was the dog crap, right? And his wife
picked it up,
takes out the garbage, reads it, and she's like, nah, you're finishing this.
Yes. Imagine that. Imagine that.
That's why you need a good support system. That's why you need someone to... So, no, this book is actually really good. I would highly recommend this book. It's probably backwards, but writes a novel.
Yeah.
Save Cats. But so, in researching these writers, right, I read something where they're like, if you ever want to be a great writer, right, you have to work at it like work. Right? That's big thing. Even if you don't feel like writing some days, right? You gotta write. Not 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, right? You have to write if you want to take this seriously. If you ever want to be a great, right? And my goal is I want to be a great, right? I'm not there. Will I ever get there? Beats me. But if I die knowing that I tried, then you know what? I'm okay with that.
That's a mama mentality right there.
Well, I tried. Like I said in the beginning of this whole thing, right now, I'm just watching Succession.
Yo, me too.
I'm just watching. 3. So good.
So good. I love it. It's amazing.
No spoilers. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there, just watching nothing. I'm like, God, I need to start writing, right? Like, it's tough, but I'm trying to honor myself some breaks. I think that's also very important. Yes. Honoring breaks to yourself. So when I have nothing to write about, what I do is I take 15 minutes, right? Because you always have something to write about, right? There's always something there. 15 minutes. That's what Kaveh Akbar does, right? Because I also researched on him on poetry. Just 15 minutes, write whatever you want for 15 minutes. Write poems, stories, anything you have in your head. Not a journal entry. It's just 15 minutes of writing, right? And take your distractions away, everything. And you know what? Afterwards, after those 15 minutes are done, go back to your normal thing, come back to it later. And edit it, do whatever you want. And if there's a little line in there that you can make into a poem, so be it. Or a segment or anything. There should be something in there that you can work on. If I have nothing to write about, right, I try to imagine things. I'm not trying to be fake. But there's like I think about trees and cars and all those things. I try to write about that. Like I try to write about dreams I've had, right? Yeah. I try to write about like what things mean, right? Figurative language, or like if I ever go to Pakistan again, like I try to write about those things, right? There's a poem in Sincerely. I think I'm really bad at deadlines. So like the book was due August 31st. I was not close to being done with the book by like August 25th, right? So I entirely just like, I'm like, you know, I gotta bang this book out real quick in 5 days, right? So there's a poem in there where I completely almost imagine like counterfactual history. Do you know what virtual history is?
No, explain it to me.
It's like I took a lot of history courses in college. It's like, what if this didn't happen? How would the world look like today?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So it's like counterfactual history. So I actually love that thought process because I think you can make a lot of stories out of that. Right. And we have to specifically write a story about that. Like what if this didn't happen? How would the world look like? Interesting. So I wrote about what if me and my wife didn't live here, right? Weren't from America. What if we're in Pakistan, right? And would we still meet there? Would we? I don't know. But I wrote about it. Because I'm like, maybe we still would. And at the end, I'm like, yeah, I probably would still meet you because destiny, right? Kismet.
Sure.
We created you in pairs.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I just think about weird things that I can probably make about it. I don't know. It's just very interesting. Like especially when I'm in a rut, I read other poets. I think that's the biggest thing I can say. I just got a lot of books by Ada Limon. I hope I'm saying her name right, but I do like her poetry too. And that also strengthens your verse as well. And it gives you ideas on what to write. So when I'm like kind of stuck, I definitely read other poets and I take little words that they use. Like when I was reading Night Sky with Exit Wounds, right, by Ocean Vuong, he used the words amputate. Not in like a sentence of like, he got his leg amputated. He wrote like he amputated his sentences. Yeah. Right? I'm like, I'm going to use that in a poem.
That's good.
Right? I want to use that. I like that. Right? So I take that, I write it down, and I just keep it there until I'm ready to use it. Yeah. So it's all like a waiting game. It's so frustrating though. So frustrating.
It's funny you mentioned like just trying to be a great, taking time out of your day and writing it. Because I was reading Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, not The Art of War. People confuse that sometimes. And he mentions...
Oh, that's a great book.
It's a wonderful book. I would recommend anybody who's dealing with resistance and procrastination to how to overcome that. It doesn't matter if you're a creative or not, but it really helps. But another thing that he mentioned was that the difference between an amateur and a pro is that the pro goes to work. You know, he relates... creatively writing or doing anything creatively, like with going to work, like whether you feel like it, whether you don't feel like it, you go to work. Like if you work at a bank, you work 9 to 5, you go every single day, and then you churn out those 8 hours. So it's the same thing with writing or anything creative, where you have to go and you have to put in the hours consistently, and then only you will see the results.
Yeah,
exactly, and that's how it is. I also read that book, phenomenal book.
Love it.
Right?
I love that book.
I love the thoughts of resistance. It definitely made me feel a lot better about myself. I don't know. I'm like, oh, I don't want to write, but resistance. So that means I want to write subconsciously. Right?
At least now we know what we're fighting. The enemy is clear.
Exactly. I'm like, I want to write, just not today. Right. But I really want to be a writer. Right. It's just kind of funny. But I do think that's important. Like Brandon Sanderson, fantasy writer. I love fantasy, by the way. Great fantasy author. He publishes like a 500 to 1,000 page novel every year.
Yeah, he's insane.
Right? He does. Yeah, he's insane. He doesn't do it because he just sits around, but he goes, I've read so many. He has like amazing BYU lectures.
I've listened to all of them. They're so good.
I haven't listened to all of them yet. I'm like slacking on it.
I listen to them as audiobooks.
They're great.
Like as in my car.
I should do that.
Or just like walking around. I just turn it on.
I'm a big audiobook person, but I like taking notes too. So I should definitely start doing that. But he says himself, like he's like 4 hours a day, right? 4 hour increments. In the morning, 4 hours. At night, 4 hours. Because I'm a night person. I have to work at night, and my wife has to respect that, right? My wife respects that because if I don't work 4 hours, I don't get a certain amount of work down, I can't sleep at night, right? Haraki Murakami wakes up at 4 a.m. every day, goes for a 10-kilometer run, comes back, writes, swims, does his whole day, sleeps by 9.
He writes after Fajr.
Exactly. So it's such a, like, if you want it, like, yes, there's always going to be authors that become famous because of one book, right? Fight Club, right? By Chuck Plan. I can't remember his last name. I have his book right here.
He has a really good book on writing as well. Palin Newark.
I have it right next to me.
Newark.
Yeah, Consider This.
Yeah, Consider This. Great book.
Yeah, so, or like Rupi Kaur, Amanda Gorman, all these poets, yes, they're still working on their craft, but they're not probably as dedicated as like a full-time author, right? Or a great author that's going to be. And these authors will never get the love they deserve. The pro authors, they won't. But guess what? I will still love them for like forever.
So what's because I want to wrap it up as well. I wanted to know what are the expectations for Sincerely, right? That's the one that's coming out right now. No, Serenity.
Serenity.
Yes. What are the expectations for Serenity? What are we expecting that'll happen? Are we expecting big numbers? What are we expecting? How are the pre-orders looking? And how's the novel coming out?
I don't know how it's looking. I'm really anxious.
Really?
I'm so anxious. It's like the pre-release jitters, right?
Totally.
I'm so anxious right now, but I'm hoping at least I can earn out because I did get an advance on my last deal.
So that's what I wanted to ask about that as well. Are you with a publisher right now?
Yeah. Andrew McNeil's, yes, for Serenity.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's a good publisher.
Yes, and the funny thing is, I won't ever post about this because they follow me, but it's but they actually denied me like a couple times.
Really?
In like 2017, 2018,
they've denied me
for
as well.
Euphoria. Yeah, it sucks, but you know what? Full circle.
Yo, I'm gonna pursue them now. I'm like, if this one's better than the first one, try it out.
Yeah, but publishing such a fickle mistress, right? With it's all a numbers game.
Totally.
Right? It's all, you have to have those numbers to actually like make it. And I didn't realize that until like this past year. Right? Even Sincerely, the second edition didn't get picked up unless the first edition was doing well. That's what it was. So it's very tough. But yeah, Serenity's with Andrew McNeil's. Andrew McNeil's has what, like 3 or 4 New York Times bestsellers? I'm hoping for that. Like, no, that's like a shot. That's like maybe.
Yeah.
That will happen. I'm not expecting it.
But man, you're kind of expecting it, bro. You're kind of expecting it. I know that feeling.
I wish I wasn't. Yeah. Right? I wish I wasn't. I wish I could be like.
It's like saying, like, I wish my Mamba mentality, and it's like saying Kobe's working so hard. Of course he's expecting a chip. Of course he is. Why wouldn't he?
That's
right?
what it
that's
is.
what it is. And the New York Times.
That's the end goal, right?
That's the chip for the writer.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, but at the end of the day, I need to acknowledge and accept that if I don't get on it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay. Because guess what? Any books can get on it anytime if they want to. Right? So if I don't get a New York Times, and if I get a New York Times 1 week and I sell like say 4,000 copies, but then I end up selling 100 every week after that, should I be happy? Or should I be happy with selling 1,000 copies every week for like a year or two?
Yeah. That's
the question
like,
is how much is enough, you know?
Exactly. And I feel like it varies to different people. When I first published Euphoria, I was like, please get me 50 copies a month. Right? When Sincerely was published and that ended up doing well, I was like, please get me 500 a month. Praise of My Youth, I didn't really push that, but that's because I did it for myself. Serenity, I'm hoping it does well, but like I'm saying, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard through the grapevine that my name doesn't really sell.
Because it's FS Yousaf?
Yeah, like it's like a different name.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That sounds very J.K. Rowling-ish to me. That Joanne Rowling won't sell, so you should probably go J.K.
Yeah, so when I heard that, I was like, it's because I'm Muslim.
Yeah. Maybe change it to the biblical name, FS Joseph. And it'll change.
Maybe. Or change it to like, I don't know, something else. But the goal, inshallah, New York Times, but realistic. I'm hoping for just the people to get their hands on it and like it and share it. I want that organic type growth where people actually become readers for my work. Because I don't have that. Right. And that's hard to get, where people actually generally become readers of your work and want your work. Right. That's my goal. Yeah. I don't, like I mentioned, I don't have that. And that's such a struggle even gaining that. I have soon to be 4 books out. And I know damn right, if I didn't post on TikTok or run AMS ads, I'd be selling nothing every single day.
Yeah.
So I want to be that type of writer where they're like, I want to read his work. Yeah. Like we're anxiously anticipating his next book, and that's it. That's my goal. Will I get there too? I think that's harder than being on New York Times.
Let me tell you that it's already happening because I'm really excited for Serenity to come out. Right? So you got one fan.
Oh man,
you got one fan. There's so much more, Farhan, that we wanted to talk about. Like I wanted to talk about your film photography because I just got into film as well, and I was like, "What did you shoot on?"
What camera?
I have a Canon AE1. I got it for my birthday.
Oh, that's a great camera.
And I shot some film in Karachi. I didn't know the film was expired. So there's like a weird blue haze to it.
Did you send that film to the X-ray?
I did. I got it at a lab, from a lab.
No, I mean like when you're coming back from the like airport, like did you have it
through the thing?
Through the X-ray? Yeah, through like their big box. That's the haze. It wasn't expired.
Okay.
So airports are notorious for ruining film.
So
through the X-rays. So you're supposed to get it hand checked.
Oh no! Even through the hand check, they go through the X-rays. Like you can't.
No, it doesn't go through the industrial X-rays.
So what are you talking about? I had my camera bag in my hand, like on my shoulder, right? They still went through the little security thing. They have to go through that.
Yeah. So when you put it in, right? You put it in the box, right? And went through that little thing. So that box that it goes through, that's like a new type of scanner that ruins film.
Okay. I didn't know that.
That gives that haze to it. So what you're supposed to do is, I went to LA last month, right? I'm also scared of planes. So it was my first time going in 14 years on a plane.
Oh, what?
So yeah.
Wow.
So I put all my film in a Ziploc bag. I asked for a hand check. They give you such a hard time with it. Such a hard time. Cause like, oh, go over there. Just put it through. I'm like, no, hand check. Check this with your hands. Yeah. So they take it, they open it, they have to look through every single one, put it back in, and just give it to you.
Okay.
And that doesn't ruin film.
All right. So maybe that's what it was. I also know for the fact that the guy, so I bought it secondhand from some dude on eBay or whatever, and he had a black and white film roll, and he had the film roll that I had, I think it was a 200, Kodak 200, and he had it for years.
Gold 200, yes.
He had it for years though. So I'm thinking I was expired because there's like a really...
It's probably not... I mean, even for expiration, right? I think the timeline is every 10 years.
Okay.
Right.
You know what? I will send you
Yeah.
a couple of the photos and you tell me if they're expired or not.
Please. I love
Right,
pictures.
cool.
Because I'm a big
I
film
will
person.
DM you. But I was really interested in your...
I will try to get back to you in a day. Try to get back to you in a day.
Totally. It's okay, man. I'm okay with it. But this was amazing. Thank you so much for coming on.
Good. I'm happy.
We've been trying to connect
on.
for a while, and I'm glad that the stars aligned in this way.
I'm sorry.
No.
Sorry
It's okay.
Truly.
It's totally fine. The fact that we're sitting here across from each other, this is what counts, right? And your story's inspiring. It's, at least for me, at least for the writers out there. I know there's a lot of Pakistani brown writers out there that will listen to this and be like, we can do this too. Like, this is possible. Yeah. And I'm glad you shared your story with us. And I wish you the best for Serenity, man.
Yeah, same. And you know what? I hope those brown writers do take it, because there's so many more stories that should be told.
I agree. Absolutely. I totally agree.
But yes.
Is there any final thoughts you want to say before we check out?
I don't know. Buy Serenity, pre-order Serenity. Everyone, whoever listens.
Whoever listens.
I don't know. But no, I know I genuinely do appreciate you guys for having me on. It's my first podcast, so I'm sorry if I was kind of everywhere.
No, it's okay. No.
But
the magic of editing, you won't even know.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I'm genuinely very appreciative for you guys hounding me the last 2 months to get me on.
We wanted to know the story, man. We wanted to know what was going on behind, and it was just as inspiring as we thought it would be. So thank you.
No, I'm really happy we did this today.
You take care now, right?
You as well.
All right.